afternoon, I will be talking about opportunities in global equities market and our two bestseller funds that are globally exposed. No? Okay, so before we go to the funds, allow me to walk you through the global opportunities. No? So here you would see that despite being in the middle of a pandemic, time has proven that there may be pockets of opportunities. So I hope that most of our attendees right now na take advantage natin yung opportunities in the local stock market back in early last year, and even at current our stock market is trading at around 6,500 levels, and I think that's a good entry point na rin, and I hope that you guys also maximize these opportunities. And not just that, siguro others may also have opportunities, whether a new online business or a new job, probably. But since there are opportunities left and right, it is also the time that we often hear financial experts diversify. But what does diversification really means? So in finance, the diversification is defined as a risk management strategy that mixes a wide variety of investments within a portfolio. So ideally daw, hindi tayo invested in one asset type lang, no? So this is where we always hear na don't put your eggs in one basket, no? So our portfolio should be a mix of different products, no? Like what you see here on the chart, on the slide on the left side. Locally, you can actually have diversification by investing in different companies like SM, San Miguel, Jollibee, Converge, and Globe, and so on. No, for others, you can also diversify your portfolio by investing into bonds. For those who can afford, they can diversify through buying properties. And see, Boss Rex, I know he has a video in their YouTube channel, sharing that he diversify his portfolio by investing into art pieces and watches. But nowadays, diversification does not only mean having a variety of asset classes, but also having exposure to different countries. So here you can see naman on the right side that there are actually companies that are worthy to invest in right now. The likes of AstraZeneca, especially that company, because that's the AstraZeneca is one of the biggest vaccine manufacturer, Si Netflix and si Facebook, who are actually benefit most during this work from home situation. So there, diversification also means having exposure to different countries, which can increase potential returns of our portfolio. But before we go deeper, let me take let's look first what's really happening and why it pays to diversify globally now. So here in this chart, you will see the price graph of MSCI ACWI, or MSCI All Country World Index. So this is an index that tracks both developed and emerging markets from 2020 to present. So focusing on 2020, the year 2020 was actually dubbed as the year of the virus. So I'm sure lahat tayo in this room, we were all shocked of COVID-19 pandemic. Natatandaan ko nga noon, we had a series of events scheduled with Ramper, but we had to postpone because the government, they are starting to announce strict lockdowns. Yung mga borders were actually controlled, and work has to be done remotely. And because of this pandemic, people were so scared, because there were a lot of uncertainties. Hindi natin alam, na tomorrow we might lose our job, so or we might get infected by the virus. So people actually started to stay at home and avoid spending. And because of that, big companies also got hit kasi syempre wala nang mga consumers who are buying their products. If you go to malls, walang tao sa SM, walang tao sa Ayala, no? So these big companies got hit, economies stopped, and market crashed. So if you could see on the graph, um, the global index went down by 35% no in less than a month. So that's how the markets reacted during that when COVID-19 was announced to the whole world no nung start yung pandemic. But then again, we cannot stay here naman no. We cannot stay scared and down for so long. So after seeing the markets crash by significantly by 35% nga, government started to give out stimulus. No? So si US started to give out stimulus to their people uh, and they passed fiscal stimulus bill. Here in the Philippines, we also saw that the Philippine government started to give out ayuda no, to our people to promote spending no and and that's one of government's way to reopen the activities in the economy. And the global markets were also supported by the tech companies. No? If you could see in the middle part of the graph, there was a tech rally. This was supported by companies like Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google, which benefited most no from the new normal kasi everyone is staying at home, everyone is working from home. So lumakas yung usage ng mga tech companies and that supported the market to rally. And before the year ends, another event happened which supported the global economies. No, it was when Joe Biden won the presidential election. So there is a renewed hope no from the US, and that also reflected on the market and the stories of vaccine development. So last year, di ba, naririnig natin na meron ng mga trials, nasa stage 3, stage 2 trials na yung mga vaccines, and that actually supported the market to rally towards the end of the year. And now beginning or looking at 2021 has started to be the year of the vaccines naman. So ngayon, di ba, nakikita natin na meron ng available in the market na mga vaccines against COVID-19. And I hope most of our attendees today are already vaccinated. So just to share, no, I myself is fully vaccinated, and I hope you guys are too, no. And because vaccines against COVID-19 became available, that actually renewed no the confidence of people. So naging confident na ulit tayo lumabas at mag-spend. If we compare our today versus last year, if you go to the malls, mas marami ng tao ngayon, no? Mas marami ng spending, mas marami ng or yung iba nga, 'di ba? They even started traveling abroad or locally. So there, no, nag-start na ulit gumastos, may confidence na ulit ang mga tao. And so, the economy started to reopen. And the state that we are right now, we call that the economic expansion, wherein people are starting to spend and to promote economic activities. And in phase like this, in this economic expansion phase, consumption usually goes up, and businesses like malls, airlines, consumer staples benefit, no? And therefore, during an economic expansion, equities usually outperform. So here, I would just want to share as well, no, that despite the developments in vaccine and vaccine rollout programs of different countries, economic recovery remains uneven, no? And that is because the pace of vaccine rollouts differ in each countries. So siguro naririnig nyo sa ibang bansa, diba, especially in the US or in the UK, ang bilis ng rollouts nila ng vaccine. I think si US right now has vaccinated more than 50% of their population. Si UK has vaccinated about 60% of their population, no? And that is because these developed countries like the US and the UK have easier access to vaccines and they get more allocation of vaccines compared to other countries like us here in the Philippines. And because of that, the economies of these developed countries can recover faster and faster, no, compared again to countries without easy access to vaccines. So looking into the pace of vaccination programs, here on the chart on the left, you could see UK being able to vaccinate more than 60%, US being able to vaccinate more than 50%, while us here in the Philippines, andun po tayo sa pinakababa, no? The last time I checked, we're not even hitting 15%, no, of our population. Sa Sun Life din, no, just to share with you, not all of our employees are vaccinated yet. So, diba, just imagine how can we go back to normal if a lot of our people are not vaccinated yet. And that fact actually translates, no, to our stock market or equities market. So on the right chart naman, you would see here the recovery of different markets, no, across the globe. So you see Nasdaq and S&P 500, which are two of the biggest stock market in the US, leading the recovery. No, compared to PSEI, which is our local stock market, medyo nandun pa tayo sa baba. We're not on that level or on that recovery level as the US or other developed countries yet. And that is one reason, no, why we want to promote or advocate diversifying globally, especially at this point, no, because there are different recovery stories from different regions. And of course, tayo, kahit Pilipino tayo, we also want naman, no, to participate in the recovery stories of these countries, of these developed markets. And actually, we have, I will go now to the products, no. So actually, we have two products in SLAMCI that would enable you to participate in this recovery story, in this global recovery story. And those are Sun Life Prosperity World Voyager Fund and Sun Life Prosperity World Equity Feeder Fund. So I will discuss both funds, but first let's focus on the Sun Life Prosperity World Voyager Fund. So the World Voyager Fund is a pure equity fund that aims to generate long-term capital appreciation by investing in diversified equity securities across different geographic regions. It is structured as fund of funds, and it is actively managed, no, by our local management team. So when we say actively managed, merong our strategies are backed up by our research, and we can actually dictate where we want to go overweight in or underweight in. So we are not constrained in just one asset type. So the fund is for you if you want to maximize the earnings potential of your dollars, if you want to have better diversification for your equities portfolio, and if you have high-risk portfolio or profile and a long-term investment horizon. So, as I've mentioned, World Voyager Fund is structured as fund of funds. But what fund of funds really means, no? And ano yung mga advantages nito? Here, so it says here na the World Voyager fund structure is fund of funds. It allows more flexibility to the fund manager to go overweight on a region, country, asset class that might perform better. So, if you are invested in any of the local equity fund available here in the Philippines, you would know that an equity fund invests in stocks, no, in stocks like SM, Ayala, Jollibee, and other stocks available in the PSEI. But the fund of funds, yung fund, instead of investing in stocks, the fund is actually investing in different mutual funds. No? So later on, you will see kung ano yung mga mutual funds na underlying itong World Voyager Fund. No? So again, being a fund of funds, the World Voyager Fund invests in mutual funds across the globe. And an advantage of this is we can be very flexible, no? So again, as I've said, it is actively managed. If, for example, we see that there is upside in Europe, we can go overweight on Europe, no? Hindi kami limited on just having exposure to US. We can actually increase our exposure to Europe, to Asia, to China if our research and our strategy supports that. So that's actually the beauty of having a fund of funds. No, there is really an elbow room for us to manage the fund. So here are the slide that I'm showing right now is the fund fact sheet of the World Voyager Fund. You can actually download this from our website, or you can ask your Ramper partners, no, or Ramper financial advisors to send you this. No, here you will see the top offshore mutual funds holding. No, so as I've mentioned, the World Voyager Fund is fund of funds investing in different mutual funds. No, so example of those mutual funds that we are invested in are JP Morgan, Wellington, New Capital, Franklin Templeton, and Morgan Stanley. And on the right side, you would see here the geographical allocation. So there, no, as I've mentioned, we are not really constrained, no, to a certain geography or a certain asset type. No? So we have US equities, we have European equities, we have Asia and emerging market equities, and we have actually Japan equities. No? And siguro you might also wonder, no, why our allocation is heavy on US. No? If you will look at the breakdown, 37% of the portfolio is invested in US. Is it because maganda yung outlook namin kay US? Well, partially yes. No, pwede naman at a certain point of time, we can have an overweight view on US. But the main reason there is because the fund follows a certain benchmark. So dun sa medyo upper left, may naka-box dyan, nakalagay benchmark, no? So for this fund, ang benchmark namin is 95% MSCI ACWI. Or that's the graph I showed a while ago, no? Yun yung price graph na pinakita ko on my first slide. So that is the benchmark. And that index, the MSCI ACWI, is heavily allocated as well on the US because US has the biggest stock markets, no, across the globe. No, si S&P and Nasdaq, no, are two of the biggest stock market in the world, and those two are in US. Kaya heavy po tayo on US. Yan. So you might also wonder, no, paano kaya nalalaman ni SLAMCI kung anong mutual funds mag-i-invest? Just to share with you, there is more than 100,000 mutual funds available in the world. No? So, marami po tayong mutual funds na pwedeng pag-investan. But how do we know or how do we decide where to invest? We actually ask help or seek help from our Canada team. No? We call them Sun Life of Canada's International Investment Center. So this Canada team help us filter the mutual funds available in the market. So they do the due diligence for us. They actually meet with these product providers, these big asset management companies, and they help us filter which funds supplements our strategy. So here again, I'm just showing you the top picks for the World Voyager Fund. So we have JP Morgan, New Capital, Franklin Templeton, Morgan Stanley, and Wellington Management. So just a trivia then for everyone this afternoon. If you want to go directly to these asset management companies, if you want to subscribe or invest in let's say in a Wellington Management mutual fund, you will have to open a broker account probably in Singapore or in Hong Kong to be able to access these funds, and that will require you with a big capital, no. So it will be very costly, no. But again, kami sa SLAMCI, we made this fund so that retail clients like you and me can access these funds through the Sun Life Voyager Fund. So some more facts about Voyager, World Voyager Fund. It is a global equity fund. The minimum initial investment is $1,000 and the minimum additional investment is $200. So for my last slide for the World Voyager Fund, invest in the largest mutual funds in the world, and the year-on-year return of the fund is at 23.61%. And year-to-date return of the fund as of August 12 is 9.68%. No? So, kung naka-invest tayo dito, same time last year, we would have gotten 23.61%. So, yun nga, sabi nga ni Kim kanina, favorite ni Rampver itong fund na to. No? And because it has continuously provided very good returns, no? as shown in this slide. Okay, so the second fund that I will be discussing that will allow you to participate in the global story or the global recovery is the Sun Life Prosperity World Equity Index Feeder Fund. So medyo mahaba po kasi siyang sabihin. So we may nickname, may nickname itong fund na to, and we call this fund WAIF, WEIFF. And that is WAIF. WAIF is a unitized equity fund that aims to track the performance of the MSCI ACWI. So before I proceed, I just want to highlight that the fund is unitized. Unlike other funds ni SLAMCI, this fund issues units of participation. The other funds kasi, they issue shares of the fund. But for WAIF, we issue units. And the main difference, actually wala namang sobrang laking difference. You still get to enjoy the returns of the fund, but being a unit holder, ang nawawala lang po sa atin is the voting rights during the annual shareholders meeting of the fund. So there, but then again, bottom line, you still enjoy the returns, you still enjoy the benefits of investing in this fund, And unlike Voyager, WAIF is actually a feeder fund that invests at least 90% of its asset in a target fund. And the most, or siguro ito yung pinakamagandang feature ng fund, that I want to highlight to everyone. WAVE allows investors to use Philippine pesos to access the global markets. So kung si Voyager will require you dollar investments, si WAVE po, you can actually invest in this fund using your pesos. Okay, so previously I've mentioned nga po that si WAVE is a feeder fund, no? So being a feeder fund, it invests 90% of its asset into a target fund. And for WAVE, the target fund is SPDR, or we read that as SPIDER, MSCI ACWI, or All Country World Index. No? So again, the target fund of WAVE is SPIDER MSCI ACWI. The index was launched in 2011 and is being managed by State Street Global Advisors. So the fund objective, or the objective of this index, is to track the equity performance of developed and emerging markets. So if you were going to do a market scan in the mutual fund and UITF space, makikita nyo po no, na marami tayong feeder funds available. No? Some of them would track a specific sector, like for example, merong mga feeder fund na nagtatrack ng consumer index or a technology index or a healthcare index. And there are feeder funds also that tracks developed markets lang, or yung iba naman emerging markets lang, no? But for WAVE, it actually tracks both developed and emerging markets. So that will give you a holistic a holistic allocation of the global markets, no? So later on, here the plus, like yung next slide ko na pala, no? So here is the map of the MSCI ACWI, no, kung saan invested yung MSCI All Country World Index. So here you would see that the United States again has the biggest allocation, no, or the biggest weight at 58.07%. Again, and that is because the biggest stock market in the world are in the United States. And next to the US, the biggest would be Japan at 7.17%, China at 4.56%. No? Meron ding allocation to kay Philippines, but very small lang. No? But that's the beauty of this index. No? It's not really focused on developed markets lang. It captures the whole globe, the entire world. No? It gives you a perspective how the global economy really is doing. So it is invested in more than 2,000, or I think the last time I checked, nasa about 3,000 na, no? 3,000 companies across the globe and more than 40 countries. Again, both in DMs or developed markets and emerging markets. So some advantages of investing in WAVE. First is it allows you to invest in companies worldwide. So as I've mentioned, no, you can access the companies like Facebook, Amazon, Google, AstraZeneca. In China, meron din tayong mga companies like Alibaba. And to some extent, no, meron ding exposure to the Philippine companies, no. And the next advantage of WAVE is it allows you to access the global market using your Philippine peso and diversify globally for long-term growth. So here, I'm just showing the global the country weights, no, and the top 10 holdings of the MSCI ACWI. So there. And on the sector allocation as well, no, si WAVE actually allows investors, or allows you if you're invested in WAVE, no, allows your portfolio to have exposure in sectors na hindi available sa domestic market. So here in the table, you would see that here locally, the Philippines has sectors in financials, consumer discretionary, industrials, communications, consumer staple, energy, utilities, and real estate. But locally, we do not have sectors like information technology, healthcare, and materials, no? And these sectors, ito po actually yung mga nagbe-benefit ngayong pandemic, 'di ba? Like I've said, everyone is working from home and companies in the information technology sector benefit from that kasi lahat tayo working remotely, no? And just like today, naka-Zoom tayo, no? And this is actually part of the IT sector. And in healthcare, here in the Philippines, we do not have a healthcare sector. But this is actually one of the beneficiary of this pandemic, no? The healthcare companies like AstraZeneca, like Pfizer, these sectors that are not here or not available locally, we can access this through the global through the WAVE, no, through World Equity Index Feeder Fund. It allows us to have exposures to these sectors that are not available in our local index. So some more facts about World Equity Index Feeder Fund. The minimum initial investment is again 50,000 pesos. And the minimum additional investment is 10,000 pesos. So, di ba, just imagine, no, using your pesos, you don't have to convert your peso into dollar. You can now access the global equities market using your pesos, and that will just require you 50,000, no, to open an account. And the holding period for this fund is 30 days. Okay, so before I end my presentation, siguro one key message that I want to partake to our listeners this afternoon is to always know your risk profile, no? So investing in these stocks should also entail some sort of parang some sort of parang knowledge, no? What are you getting into? And there are a lot of know your risk profile test or available in the internet, no? So if you want, you can also try our risk assessment test in our website under calculators and quizzes. There is investmentality. You can actually check there, no, if you are an aggressive advisor, aggressive investor, or a conservative investor, no. So always know your profile, your risk profile before investing into funds like this. Para alam nyo din, no, na you can tolerate this level of volatility and this level of risk. So once you check your risk profile, we actually promote an asset allocation, no, based on your risk profile. You can also ask this from your Rampver financial advisors just to help you, just to serve as your guide. But if I can discuss this, no, for example, ako personally, I am an aggressive advisor. So I had a point of about 39 to 46 points, no. And the asset allocation that SLAMCI is recommending for investors like me is to have 80% of my portfolio invested in equities, 15% in bonds, and 5% in money market. And based on your liking then, you can further break this down, no? Like, for example, for yung 80% equities ko, pwede kong i-break down yan na gusto ko 40% local, 40% global equities. So, it's actually, kayo na yung, magde-decide on how do you want to further break it down. But this will serve as your guide on how you will allocate your portfolio based on your risk appetite. And for those who are not yet ready to invest into this kind of products that has volatility and some level of risk, we have the Sun Life Prosperity Dollar Starter Fund. This is actually a very conservative fund um, for your dollars. No? So for the year, 1 year return as of August 12 is 1.07%, and that's already net. Wala na po yan any tax deduction. No? If you have excess dollars, you can actually park it here, no? Especially right now that time deposit rates are very low, almost zero for dollar time deposits. Or for example, you have excess dollars na supposedly pang travel, but hindi natuloy yung travel because of the pandemic, you can actually park your dollars here in the Sun Life Prosperity Dollar Starter Fund. The minimum investment for this is $500, and the minimum subsequent investment is $100. If you will check the price stability of this fund, makikita nyo po na hindi po siya kasing volatile ng mga equity funds, no. It's actually returning on a straight line, meaning very minimal yung days na bumababa yung value ng fund na ito. But again, ang kapalit din naman nun is, of course, the return of this fund is not as high as the returns of Voyager and Wave. So, pang parking talaga of your excess dollars. So here, no, the liquidity or the holding period of this fund is 7 days, and again, it is an alternative to current and savings dollar account. And for the return, just wanted to highlight that the fund has outperformed the benchmark, no. Kumbaga po, mas maganda yung return ng fund na ito than the usual dollar time deposit.